we all know I'm weird, but tell me that you haven't asked some strange questions before. For example, what if 5 of some of the worst movie monsters were to meet in a room? Who would come out standing? Well, let's up the ante. Let's make it a Hunger Games situation, and let's put 5 of these specific monsters in an arena or a Hunger Game biome to see who comes out on top. This is just a hypothetical scenario. I may be wrong about some things, but let's get it going, guys. And also, let's hear what you guys have to say about this weird matchup, or whatever you want to call it, Battle Royale. The 5 monsters we'll be talking about today are Siren Head, Predator, the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise, Cthulhu from the Relic movie, and the Death Angels, or the Quiet Place monsters from the movie A Quiet Place. All of these monsters share something in common. They're surprisingly stealthy, and usually, when you realize that they are there, it's too late. But don't worry, humans won't be a part of the equation. Today, these monsters will be hunting or be hunted by each other. Now listen, I would love to animate this whole video, but animating would take way too long, so just use your imaginations based on my descriptions. I'm really good at that. Let's do a very quick overview on the monsters being presented in this battle biome. We're going to have some kind of forest. I think the best condition would be a temperate forest where there's good enough cover, but enough space to see what's going on if you really look. It's not as dense as it could be. It basically looks like this. Let's start off with our first contender, Siren Head. We've done videos on Siren Head, and you guys have seen probably a million videos on this monster, but this monster is particularly creepy because he stands at around 40 feet tall, but he has the unique ability to blend in with his surroundings and change his physiology. He camouflages in particularly well with trees and other tall objects, and even bits of furniture. In this case, our guy would probably transform into a tree or hide himself so that his body looks like a tree trunk. He's great at morphing into inanimate objects. When his creator, Trevor Henderson, was asked whether or not Siren Head could even resemble tech from the 90s or the 2000s in ancient times, so let's be serious, it's going to resemble whatever the people of the time are used to seeing, he responded by pointing out that the form that we see of Siren Head now might be the most recent form, or a slightly outdated form of something that consistently changes. It is said that Siren Head also changes itself depending on the era it is in order to blend in more easily, or that what we see is not its real form, but the closest thing the human mind can associate it with, which is freaking creepy. If that's the case, and this is more an illusion than what it actually turns itself into, then that means all of these other aliens would be seeing something quite different. The other thing to know about Siren Head is that it is very supernatural. Trevor Henderson had stated that Siren Head doesn't need eyes, ears, or a nose, or the ability to feel vibrations to find its prey. Scary, it just knows where you are, which I think is one of the reasons why it's probably one of the strongest candidates in this battle royale. Last thing to note about Siren Head, the reason why it is also doubly as creepy is because it can mimic basically anything. To us, it can mimic the voice of your loved one, and is thought to be highly intelligent. Let's move on to Predator. The Predator monster, otherwise known as the Yautja, which is its species name, is a bipedal humanoid creature that stands over 7 feet tall and can weigh well over 520 pounds while it's in its armor. And yes, I say armor because these creatures are technologically advanced. These are like hunters on E. They use all that technology towards their tradition of hunting other alien species and making it a sport. We should be so honored that we were hunted by them because as their bio reads, the Yautja, known colloquially as the predators or hunters, are an extraterrestrial species characterized by their hunting of other dangerous species for sport and honor, including humans. The Yautja are a sentient humanoid race that breathe an atmosphere similar to that of Earth's, but possess a level of technological advancement far in excess of anything available to humans. The predators stalk and kill their prey using a combination of highly advanced technology, such as active camouflage and energy weapons, combined with comparatively primitive traditional weapons such as blades, spears, and nets. The predators often ritualistically mutilate their prey and usually claim a trophy from their kills, so they possibly pop off a head or something. Capable of interstellar travel in starships, the predators have hunted on Earth for centuries, and have also met those engineer dudes from Alien Covenant and Prometheus. Here's where things get a little bit interesting. They have been known to deliberately breed xenomorphs in order to hunt them, often as part of initiation rituals for young predator dudes. After all, they do revere Xenomorph XX121 as hard meat. They revere it of the most worthy of all prey, because the Xenomorph, who is the next person on the list, is in and of itself as a species a very expert hunter, and very intelligent and ever adapting. Now moving on to our next contestant, or contender, the Xenomorph. But for this one, specifically Xenomorph XX121. These 7-foot-tall, 325-pound creatures are haunting. They are known to be highly aggressive as an endoparasitoid extraterrestrial species. In their bio, it says that xenomorphs are vicious predatory creatures with no higher goals than the propagation of their species and the destruction of any life that could pose a threat to them. Like wasps or bees, xenomorphs are eusocial, with a fertile queen breeding a host of subordinate castes. The creatures are known for their potent acidic blood and their pharyngeal jaws, although their biological life cycle, in which their offspring are implanted inside living hosts before erupting violently from their chests, is in many ways their signature aspect. They're also also very intelligent and can solve problems quite easily. They're also good at adapting to their changing circumstances. They have a hard exoskeleton, so even if you were able to break through it, if you could even break through their armor, you would get doused in their acidic blood, which would cut you right through to the bone. Xenomorphs are amazing hunters, whether they're alone or they're together. Usually when they're alone, they'll ambush you. You won't even see them coming, you'll just walk in and not even realize that they're above you, hanging upside down, or camouflaging in with their surroundings. It's not that they actively camouflage their skin to change color, but they're so good at lying still and knowing exactly how to blend in with their surroundings, make themselves as quiet as possible so you have no idea that they're present. Aside from their teeth, those jaws that can shoot out from their mouth, their claws, they have a spiky little blade on their tail that they can use to impale whoever's bothering them. They don't need any weapons because they are a living weapon. Next, in our contender list for the Battle Royale is the Cthulga. Four-legged, tiger-sized chimera monster that looks more reptilian than mammal is actually a human who transformed into this. He became a carnivorous feral monster driven by the desire to survive by ripping off creatures' heads so that it could consume the hormones in the hypothalamus of the creatures. So yeah, it either did that or it searched for the fungus that acted as the source of its abilities and powers. Because the creature is basically human, he can recognize when somebody's trying to trap him, hunt him, he can hide bodies. Basically, he is very, very intelligent. He's very stealthy and he can walk up walls like a gecko as well. He's an amalgamation of many creatures. So basically take every strong predator and put it all into one, and that's this monster. I don't know about you guys, but this creature also looks like it can be an offshoot of Predator the Yautja. Just saying, if there were dog versions of Predator, this thing would probably be it. And just like Predator, it has superhuman strength, superhuman durability, speed, dexterity, stamina, and sharp teeth and claws. This thing more so uses its sharp teeth and claws than Predator does. It also has an extremely prehensile, powerful tail, and impressive hide that doesn't seem to be affected by bullets, and very sharp tusks, ones that it uses to decapitate its prey. And our last contender is the Quiet Place Monster, or the Death Angel. A creature with hide that is so impermeable that apparently bombs don't work on it, neither do bullets. The only time it is vulnerable is when you play a certain type of frequency. This hurts the monster and causes its head to open up. Other than that, apparently you cannot kill it. You can't drop it from a height, you can't squish it. I mean, who knows? Basically, the army threw everything they had at him. I refuse to believe that was the case because really, no one figured out that you can probably microwave this thing. But whatever, those are our 5 movie monsters that if they were put in an arena, it would be very entertaining to watch and to wonder who would come out as the victor. So now that we have this scenario, who would drop first? I expect that while hunting, Predator and Siren Head, the Xenomorph and Cthulga would totally stay out of the way. They would recognize that there are other life forms around and they would utilize their stealth, especially if they're in a completely new environment. The only things I think that would have an issue are the Death Angels. Let's imagine all of these monsters get teleported into this very small temperate forest biome. Predator would be like, what the hell? And he would immediately put on his invisibility cloak. As big as he is, Siren Head would stealthily blend in with the trees. The only one I think that would make the most noise is the Xenomorph because it would then run for shelter or safety. The Quiet Place monster at this point in time would be very disoriented and be listening very intently to see what is going on with their environment. Being out of the wilderness and nowhere near humans, the Cthulga monster would run for shelter as well. He's stealthy when stalking, but not as stealthy when running. Most of the monsters aren't. Now, Predator is really excited because by this time, he knows that there is something amiss. And as he continues scoping out the environment, as a Xenomorph and the other creatures do, he discovers that he is not alone. I think Predator would make the first kill. Now, the reason why Predator would have the upper hand against all these other guys is because, number 1, he is a trained hunter for more dangerous creatures. Number 2, he relies strictly on his vision. Both those two things together is going to make him go on the offensive rather than the other creatures that seem to be a little bit more defensive. Sure, the Xenomorph is quite offensive as well, but when it's in a weird environment, it seems to be more stealthy and hides until it can basically get its bearings. Predator's vision operates mainly in the infrared portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, so he can easily detect heat differentials in his surroundings. However, if a lot of objects are around each other and they have the same temperature, it's a bit difficult for him to differentiate what they are. The biomask that Predator, or Yautja, wears greatly increases his ability to see in a variety of spectrums ranging from the low infrared to the high ultraviolet, and also filters ambient heat from the area, allowing him to distinguish prey with greater clarity and detail. Let's put this out there first. He would not be able to see Siren Head. Siren Head is more of a supernatural entity and is very good at hiding. If he disguises himself as an inanimate object, chances are you would not catch a heat signature on Siren Head. The Cthulga can also change its temperature and alter it to camouflage with its environment. The Xenomorph is not something that Predator would readily catch off the bat either because they don't show up under infrared light. Yes, oddly, this makes them them cold-blooded, even though on our planet, their behavior doesn't really fit alongside that. That's one of the reasons they're so challenging to hunt for the Yautja, but not impassable. Even though the initiation hunts for tradition for Yautjas, hunting xenomorphs typically involves xenomorph prey being hunted inside of a Yautja pyramid or a sacred temple. This is a much more open environment, but the Yautja also has hunting experience on his side. Chances are, since this is part of their tradition, he's hunted xenomorph before and knows exactly what to look for. He is stealthier than the wind and knows exactly the location of the xenomorph based on past experience. As he heads in the direction that the xenomorph is, he hears a weird noise. It sounds like the xenomorph, making its clicking noises. Then he hears a snarl, and then something else that makes whatever his blood is go cold. He hears the sound of one of his females in distress. It sounds like she's fighting the xenomorph. How did she even get here? Better yet, how did he get here? So thinking that to himself, he's like, you know what? She's a warrior. She can handle herself, but I'm gonna go and check things out. As he stealthily heads for the area, he doesn't see the xenomorph, nor does he see the female version of his species. But he can hear her in his language saying that she has felled the beast. He wants to see her so he can see her trophy. But when he doesn't see her right away, he immediately knows that something is wrong. He's hunted many alien life forms, and a lot of them utilize tricks, even though this is the most elaborate he's ever seen. Hearing a slight change in air pressure, he turns around just in time to see a large hand reaching out for him, even though he's cloaked in his invisibility. He leaps out of the way, just in time before the Cthulhu monster almost decapitates him. Takes him a while to realize what's happening, but there is a large creature standing 40 feet high with some form of a xenomorph head structure on top of him, wearing it like a hat or a helmet. Then it morphs and changes into something else. The Cthulhu is caught off guard, and the four-legged monstrosity turns on what is Siren Head. Predator quickly shoots his blades towards Siren Head. Siren Head's not playing any games. All this noise has invited a very unlikely visitor, the Death Angel, or the Quiet Place monster, who is careening towards all three of these monsters, willing them to shut up with his force, his deadly force. He quickly leaps into the air and attacks the Cthulhu. The Cthulhu turns on the Death Angel and tries to skewer him with its tusks, unable to pierce the hide